Hi, everyone. Welcome to Speech Goods, a podcast where we showcase awesome SLPs doing awesome traditional and non-traditional SLP things. Myself and the guests on the show are here to talk about the goods, the bads, and the untamable parts of ourselves and our SLP careers, and how, despite the challenges of everyday life, have just done the dang thing, loving what we do. I'm your host, Danny Augustine. I went from burnt out, dissatisfied with my SLP job, to dusting off my big girl pants, sprinkling some determination in my 20-cent coffee, and starting my own debt-free private practice. Now, I love my work and career and wouldn't trade it for anything else. It was support and wisdom from others around me that helped me refine my why. In the show, I hope you find support and wisdom of your own. Oh, okay. This episode is going to be a good one. Today we have the one and only Anna DSLP. Anna is so amazing. She was such a firecracker to be able to talk to her, and I had so much fun. So Anna works primarily with 3 to 6-year-olds with severe speech and language delays. She loves play-based therapy, treating speech sound disorders, and working closely with family and school staff. She has got a pop-in Instagram page and Facebook page, which all that is going to be listed in the show notes, as well as a killer TPT store. We get into some really great conversations. We talk about how she realized she really wasn't meant to be an employee, how she makes products that don't exist, and that's how she's able to set herself apart from other TPT sellers. We talk about how she's not afraid to fail and how she's always been pushed out of her comfort zone, and that is where she's actually really been able to thrive. We get into some nitty-gritty about how she actually sets goals for herself, whether they're personal goals or goals for her business. We talk about all the things. She talks about how the only failure is just not even trying at all. We talk about the comparison game, imposter syndrome, all the things. You are going to love this episode with Anna. She keeps it real in a very no fluff, Danny approved kind of way. All right, let's go do this. Okay. Hello, Anna. How are you doing today?
I am great. Thanks for having me today. How are you?
I am fabulous. So, should I call you Anna or Anna D, Sandra
Anna.
D? What you feeling?
I never even thought about the Sandra D part of it, but Anna is good. I always laugh when people call me Anna D did this or Anna D because no one calls me that in my real life.
No one.
Anna, yeah.
In the speech therapy Instagram world, people call me that. And that's all that matters.
That's right.
I love it. Well, I'm so excited you're here. We just heard your fantabulous bio. You are killing it in the Instagram TPT space. You also have a private practice. How many kiddos do you have?
Well, it ranges. This year I didn't have as many because I homeschooled my boys. So I had about 20,
Gotcha.
But it ranges from 20 to 100, depending.
And how many, and you have 3 kids, right? And you two. Okay. So you're also doing all this and being a mama. I know you have an appointment to go to right after this. So I just want to know all of your things. So can you just start off telling us what makes you and your SLP journey unique?
Well, I think that I had a really unique experience right out of grad school, and I learned a lot in that year, probably more than the average SLP in their first year. So here in Canada, we don't have a CF year. We just dive right in. So we don't have mentors. I think that that's changed now since I've graduated, so I didn't have a mentor, and I was placed in a position where there were supposed to be a 7.0 FTE. Do you guys use FTE in the States? Do you know what that means? Full-time equivalency. So 7.0 is there's enough space and hours for 7 people to work full time. So that could be filled by 10 people, 5, you know what I mean? It's 7.0. There were supposed to be 7 speech pathologists, myself included, and everybody quit before I started. So I was the only one, and I had a caseload of, I think it was 750 kids.
What?
Yeah. And we weren't supposed to have assistants, speech, SLPAs or EAs working under us until we worked for 2 years. But because there was no one else, I had 4. So I was right out of grad school. I had to work with all these SLPAs, train them, and do all these assessments. So it's a little different in Canada. We don't have one SLP per school that serves a caseload. We our SLPs, well, it's changed now, but at that time, our SLPs work out of the health unit, and like where you get your vaccines, like where you would go for counseling. Like we just have these health units, not a hospital, just a health unit. And we work out of there, and then we go to all the different schools, and kids get like blocks of therapy. So like 8 weeks of therapy once a week, and then they get an 8-week break, and then you pick them up again. So you're never seeing your entire caseload at the same time. But in that way, it's almost more complicated because you're constantly changing your schedule. Once you've figured it out, now you're switching and you're moving kids around and lots of calling and stuff. So anyways, in that first year, I think that I learned, and so I had preschool and school-aged kids. I don't tell people often that I worked with school-aged kids because that was like so long ago, and it was because I was the only one. They only made me work with kindergarten. So even in that role, I didn't work with older kids because that just wasn't something that I did. But anyways, in that year, I feel like I learned so much time management, self-advocacy. I learned clinically so much. Like I learned to speak up. I learned so much in that year that I think it took most people probably like 5 years, because I just was like bombarded with stuff. It was like sink or swim. Like you did not have an option.
Yeah. Like,
so I think that is kind of unique. Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like they literally, you know, like when you're teaching, you're teaching the kid to swim. Let me just throw them in the deep end and see what happens.
And no lifeguard, because I didn't have a mentor. Like I didn't have like we don't have CF, so we don't have mentors. So I did, so that was kind of unique. So I lasted there for about a year. I tried my best, but then it was just like they hired one other SLP to kind of help out, and there was two of us, but it just wasn't a great fit for me. I felt like my skills were definitely geared towards other things. So I left there and I worked in an early intervention program for like 4 months. I didn't last there very long. I learned each time that I'm not meant to be an employee, and that's okay. Everyone has their own skills. Like it was hard to swallow at the time, but now I realize that that was okay. So I worked there, and it was not a collaborative environment. It was definitely a top-down system, with the teachers being here and everyone else being here. So was treated that way according, like kind of that way too. So anyways, left there. And then I started private practice, doing contracts with Tiny Eye, like a teletherapy. So I did teletherapy before teletherapy was a thing, but it looked very different than it does now. So I did that for about a year, and then I got pregnant, and then I took a couple years off in between. So I didn't work while I was pregnant, and I didn't work while my kids were little, my first son. And then when my second son, actually, I found out I was pregnant the day after I accepted a contract.
That's right.
So then I worked for like 6 months and then had another baby, but I contracted to like a psychology clinic that they offered like multidisciplinary assessments and stuff. So that was a unique experience, and that was kind of great. But yeah, I didn't end up going back there after I had my son, because it was like an hour away. And anyways, so then I started my contract with my local school board. So when I had my private practice, I really was like a private contractor. So, and then I still had some clients that I saw like outside of the school, but most of it was through the school board. So it was nice because I had like the flexibility to do kind of what I wanted, when I wanted. I made my own schedule, that type of thing. However, you still are a contractor to someone. So there's still somebody who kind of makes the ultimate rules, right? With the like guidelines of who qualifies and who doesn't. So it's not like a full private practice, which is now what I'm doing now. So this year, because I had kept my boys home, I only kept one school, and we were consulting. So we only got to see kids 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow.
So you got 4 hours to assess, write a report, treat, train the aide, write your year-end report, and write your year-end assessment. So I kept one school, and then I was thinking for next year, I'm like, I don't know, it might be more hours, but how is that going to look? Like I'm going to need 500 kids to work. You know what I mean? Like it's just not going to work. So anyways, so I decided to just do full private practice next year. So so then it'll just be like all those kind of other things that you have when you're an employee or a contractor. I won't have those like eligibility. I can decide who needs therapy, right? That's definitely a benefit, and you can see them as long as you want and as frequently as you want, and you get parents who are involved and going to work at home. So I guess it's kind of unique. I've changed a lot throughout, and I feel like each job has just showed me my strengths and made me aware of my weaknesses, and kind of allowed me to channel them to be a better SLP in a role that I can utilize my weaknesses and kind of hide, or utilize my strengths and hide my weaknesses.
Yes, like kind of capitalize on that. And how long have you been an SLP? I did want to ask you that.
Yeah, I graduated in 2008.
Okay. Got you. So you've gotten to like do all the things. And so amongst starting, so you initially had your private practice, and you primarily like had school contracts with your private practice. Now you're transitioning to more like private clients, like that type of thing, versus schools and having to deal with all of the monstrosities that is. And then amongst all this, you also have this other stream of income, this other business, which is like Instagram, TPT. If y'all aren't following our Instagram, hello, go do it right now. Just saying. Anyways, so how like does that tie? How does all that like sort of tie into everything, and like how did you even get started with it? Because I mean, it's only been since like 2019. Like it's not, there's some of these big Instagram SLPs or TPTers that have been around since we were talking before 2015, 2011. You've only been doing this for a couple years. Can you tell us a little bit about like your story behind all that?
Yeah. So in my role with the school contract, so I was saying like I was going to all the different schools. A big part of my job was training aides, right? Because I only got to see kids 10 or 20 times a year. So the EAs were the ones, or so EA would be like your paraprofessionals in the States, I think. So they don't necessarily have any training with speech. And I only saw kids with severe language delays. So these were kids with autism, Down syndrome, apraxia, severe phono. So I'm like trying to train them to do therapy. There were not a lot of resources on Teachers Pay Teachers that I could use to help me help them. Like, I don't need, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need things that I can use anything because I'm an SLP and we know how to do that. Like, but that's not the case when you have somebody who's just brand new at a job. So that's kind of where my first product started. So I made these handouts that kind of gave ideas. And there's in my TPT store of like different, very commonly targeted goals, queuing hierarchy, classroom strategies, and then simple activities that you can use with everyday, like play-based activities that you can use, anyone could use. So I had those handouts. I probably had like 50 of them, and I made them for me and like just the people that I worked with. And my friend actually, the Speech Meadow, her and I went to grad school together, and she has a TPT store. And she was like, why don't you just put these on TPT? And I was like, no one's going to buy them. Like, so I literally, like one day I was in my parents' basement, we were visiting there, and I was bored, and I'm like, okay, throw them on. I didn't have a cover. I had no idea what search engine optimization was. Like my titles were like cute songs. Like, yeah, like it was like, I'm a gold digger. That was my goal. But like no one's searching that. Right. So anyway, literally when I say I went in blind, which anyways, I can touch on that later. So anyway, so that's kind of how it started. And then I also had this huge goal bank. I threw it on there, and then it kind of snowballed. So I actually had my Instagram about a month before my TPT store. When I started my Instagram, it was a passion project, and it wasn't Anna DSLP. It was actually an Instagram page geared towards parents to encourage free play in children, because as a speech language pathologist and as a mother of young children, I see how kids don't know how to play. Like they don't know how. They come to therapy sessions, they don't know what to do. We've had play dates where the kids would come from school and we live backing onto a huge green space and they would just stand there. Like they wouldn't know what to do. Like they were like, and I'm like, this is weird. Like you're 7 and you don't know what to do in a field. Like, I don't know.
Run.
Yes, run, get a ball, chase sticks, climb trees. Right. So, and I really encourage that in my own children. I mean, I'm not going to say we never do screen time, but I really do encourage a lot of play. So it started kind of as that. And then it kind of like more SLPs kept coming, and it kind of like evolved into like, I changed my audience sort of, and my audience now wouldn't be parents per se, definitely more a speech language pathologist. So, but then still kind of incorporating that play-based learning that I love and really encourage. So yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then it just sort of snowballed. It just kind of happened. When I do something, I'm like all in. So that's my personality. So
how did you like, because you clearly, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to create a TPT empire, nope. Blah. Like you were just kind of like, let me just throw it up. How did you even, like, did you find, was it encouraging when people showed interest, or did you just like start putting together more stuff and you got like good feedback? Because you're doing very well.
So my first month on TPT, and I don't usually talk numbers, I made $500, which is actually like at the time I was like, oh, $500. But when I look at like Facebook groups and stuff like that, takes some people a really long time to get to. And I don't know. I don't like that kind of really motivated me, because I'm like, oh, I don't know. It just kind of worked out. So let's try to make more money, right? Like, let's try to do more. Let's make more products. And I think that I try to make things that don't exist. I don't try to recreate products that already exist on Teachers Pay Teachers, because products, they sell great for this seller. They have 1,500 reviews. So they've probably sold like 5,000. Well, 5,000 people already own that. So they're not going to buy mine.
Yeah.
right? So I try to kind of create things that don't exist and that I need for my own caseload that I can't find. So I think that's kind of, because it hasn't been that long, but I think that's kind of been key to the success, I guess, that I've had.
Yeah. No, you do not air quote your success. I will fuss at you. Do not use air quotes for that. If you are not watching the video, she just did those little two-finger peace sign hooky thingies. But no,
Yeah,
I mean that's genius though. Like finding, because I know, like I think part of it goes back to knowing yourself. And like I love to get your opinion on this, especially like you realized early on you were not meant to be an employee. And I think it's good to know those things. Like I would be the worst TPT seller ever. Like I am not
No.
creative. No. Like this isn't me like I'm gonna like put myself down, but no, like I hate making stuff pretty. Like
Yeah, well,
that is just that is not my thing. Like that is literally like part of my virtual assistant's job is to take my post and make them look decent. Like I'll type the words, the kind of,
yeah.
but like that's not my thing. Like I'm not going to go try on sell on TPT. Like that's just not my thing. But I mean, clearly like you had this knack for like seeing things and seeing like holes in the market that other people weren't seeing because that
Yeah, I
space
guess.
wasn't filled. Like, can you talk a little bit about like how like knowing yourself and knowing your tendencies, like kind of bring you through this whole process? Because you also like, by the way, like just sort of told me nonchalantly, yeah, I have a private practice. Do you know how many SLPs agonize over whether or not they should start their private practice? And like, and you just seem like you just kind of did it. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that and like knowing yourself and
Yeah.
all the fun
So
things?
so I think as I get older, because I'm old. I'm not old, but I'm older than
Girl,
20, right? Like I
you
mean,
look
yeah.
good.
Well, thank you, but I'm not 20, right? And not that there's anything wrong with being 20. Oh, I would take that, in a heartbeat. But every age has its privilege, and that's something that my parents have always said to me, right? And I think as you get older, you realize it's okay to not be good at everything. And I know, like, I never felt like that coming out of grad school. I felt like I had to be good at everything, and now I'm like, I'm actually really not good. I am not a detailed oriented person. I make typos all the time. Like it hurts me when I see my reports a year later, like it physically, like there's just things that I'm not good at teamwork. I know that, like, there are just things that I am not good at. And I used to try to get better at those things. But I think what's going to benefit people more and benefited me more is finding what you're good at and just getting really, really good at that. Do you know what I mean? And I read this amazing book. It's called Strength-Based Parenting. So both of my kids struggle with fine motor stuff. It's not something that they're strong at. I would like make them sit and try to do it and like draw and do puzzles and color. And I would make them try to do these things and they hated it. And so I read this book and it was just like, and they're not like, they don't have a delay. They're just not good at drawing. Like, but I'd be like, well, you have to be, but why? Not everyone, like, why do you have to be good at drawing? Like, you can't be good at everything, but instead being like, oh, wow, you guys are both really good readers. Let's hone in on that. Let's go to Chapters and buy books every week and encourage you to read. And now they're these like exceptional readers, right? So the strength-based parenting book not only helped me like as a parent, but helped me with like my own reflection and stuff. So I think that just comes with age, is realizing like you don't have to be good at everything and just try to be really good at the things you're really good at and kind of go. I don't know.
And I think that's a great point. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Keep talking.
No, I was going to say that I think when you come out like as a new grad, I mean, at least I felt this pressure. I'm like, I just graduated. How do I not know this? How do I not know everything about voice and everything about this? And like, I should know this. Like, I should. Now I'm kind of proud to say that I'm pretty sure if I had to take the praxis, I would fail. I'm okay with that because do you know why? I don't treat adults with dysphagia. I don't need to know that. And I'm okay with saying, if someone asks me, I don't know the answer, that's not an area I practice in. I would love to refer you to somebody who knows about this. I know what I know really well. And I know that for a lot of people in schools, they don't have that luxury. Like they kind of do have to know a little bit of everything. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast, I guess it is. But if you can allow yourself to just really be like focus on what you really know about, then that helps, right? So yeah. And then you asked me something else. Okay, so you asked me about knowing about yourself, but then there was another question and I only wrote the first one down. So
I think I tend to like just keep talking. It's a problem. I think, even amongst that with like starting because you very like nonchalantly, like, yeah, I started private practice.
Yeah. And so this is how I was with my TPT store and private practice. I've never been afraid to fail. Like I've never been
Ah,
afraid. I'm like, and if I fail, so what? So I'm not afraid to take risks. I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself. I'm not afraid to make mistakes because I think that's part of being human. So
you've
I
always
don't
been
try to
like
be,
that?
yeah,
Like,
I think so. Like my parents have
ah,
said I would always be like, so my parents don't speak, like they're ESL. They came to Canada when they were like 30 and 24. They don't speak English very well. So I was always forced to be way more independent and do things way beyond what most kids my age would have to do. Like when I was 6, I was the one ordering pizza. I was making my own dentist appointments because my parents didn't want to call because nobody would understand them and made them nervous. So I've never been afraid because I've always been pushed out of my comfort zone from a young age. So like, yeah, if I open a TPT store and I fail, who's going to know? Me, whatever. Like,
mm-hmm.
and then you learn, right? You're always learning. And same with the private practice. I mean, I have to say, if I was a single income, I probably wouldn't have been as like not afraid. If I was on my own and I had to quit my job that I knew I had pension and benefits and like income, and then I had to open a private practice, it would be worrisome. But my husband has a secure job, so like it was always kind of something that we were like, well, if you make $0 this year, it won't be great, but we can survive, right? So I do. So for people who are listening and maybe thinking of starting a private practice and are in that position, like start off with just a couple clients, right? And work on the evenings and weekends. And you're not going to get something that you've never had if you don't do something you've never done. So yeah, you're going to probably have to
Ooh,
put your
yeah, yeah. I'm like
probably
bouncing right now. Okay, go.
you're probably going to have to put your life on hold for a while to achieve those big dreams. And I think that people are afraid to do that. Like you see people on social media who have these private practices or TPT stores. Like I will tell you that doesn't come easily. Like there's grind in it. And like you do eventually get to a point where you don't have to work all the time. But like during that first year of TPT, I was working 65 to 70 hours a week between my two jobs.
Wow.
Like it's not like it
Wow.
was just like
Mm-hmm.
I would work all day, then I would parent when my kids got home, and then I would stay up till 2 in the morning and do products. And I was only like do products, do whatever, and then wake up at 7 and go to work. Like that was just now I don't have to do that, but you have to put in the grind. You can't just think like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna work on this for 2 hours and then it's gonna magically happen. Like that doesn't happen. You need to work hard. So yeah.
Ah, what was
This is
that?
blunt.
So
People don't like that, but
no, but I mean, I think that's part of that. Like, there's like the work harder, work smarter thing. Like, which one do I do? And I think part of the working smart piece is working in the areas that you're good at. And like, what's that? Your zone of genius or your area of
right. Yeah.
genius?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that? It's something like that. And
It's something like
then
that. Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. And then honestly, because I think we just had a clubhouse a couple nights ago about like finding your niche or something in the SLP world,
I saw that.
and
Yeah.
it was Jenna Castor Casbon, who her company is an independent clinician and she
Right.
helps SLP start private practices. She was saying like find something that you want to work on until like
Yep.
2 o'clock in the morning. Not saying that
That's right.
you got to do whatever not, but like it has to be something you're excited about, and then and
Yes.
finding like where your zone there was like your zone of excellence, and then there's your zone of genius. And
Right.
your zone of genius. Oh goodness gracious! I need speech therapy right now. But just like finding like where you're just in like the zen. And so for
Yeah.
you said that first year, like what was your goal? Like were you trying to put out like a new product every week? Like did you have
I
goals that
did
you
put
were
out a
trying
new
to
product
hit?
every week. I did put out a new
Okay.
product every week. So for the first year of my TPT store, I didn't have a blog. I didn't have an email address, and I had no idea what the F I was doing. I'm gonna be honest. Like I didn't know.
I like
I
it.
didn't learn what search engine optimization was until last summer, after I'd had my store for a year. What an email list, like all of those things, I had no idea. I just really focused because to me, I'm like, what are you going to email if you don't have anything to talk about? What are you going to put on your website if you don't have any content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really focused on product creation for the year, and I aimed to make one product a year. So in the first year on TPT, 1 or 2 products, because I had 100 products in the first year, and now this year I've only made 50. But that's because I can't. Like now I'm working on stuff on the back end that you don't see as much, but yeah. So that was my
Right.
goal. Yeah.
And
But
you're
I
also
guess,
like,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead.
My goal has always been to be able to work when I want to work. It's not that I don't work and I work fewer hours than other people, because I think there is that misconception. like I have had friends say to me, oh, I wish I could just sit at home and drink coffee all day. I'm like, well, no, like you might see that during the day, but you don't see me staying up from like, I work from 9 till 2 every morning. Right. So you don't see that part, but that works for me in the point of life that I'm in. And when my kids go to school in the fall, I won't be doing that anymore. I'll be working in the day, but it's just, that was always my goal, is that I can work when and how much I want and still provide for my family. That was my goal. And TPT has allowed me to work less in my private practice and kind of substitute that income so that I can really, like, even when you have a private practice, you can schedule when you want, but you're still committed to showing up at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense? That was kind of
yeah. No, so and you mentioned the goals piece. Like, did you set very specific? Like, are you like a goal setty person? Like, do you have specific goals you set for yourself, or is it because, like I said, like you started out not necessarily like I'm gonna make. Oh my gosh! Okay, if you're on the audio, she's showing it's on pink. Are you Elle Woods? You know that scene where
I have a blue one.
It's on.
So
okay, it's not on pink. Okay, it's on pink and blue paper.
Yeah, so one for every month, and I haven't finished May's goals yet. I'm behind, but that's because I also give myself grace, right? Like I set big goals. Like I make goals that make me sweat and uncomfortable. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? Those are the goals I set. So let's just say I'm going to use a random number. If I made $100 on TPT 1 month, my next goal isn't 150, it's 600. Like I dream big. Like I have big, it doesn't mean I always reach those goals, but I dream really big to the point that I set my goals as big as that I can have no idea how I'm going to achieve them. And I'd say 80% of the time I do achieve them, because it's crazy. Your brain gets really uncomfortable and thinks of ways to figure it out. So that's my style. That might not work for everybody, but yes, I keep goals of like different things. So like, how many products am I going to create? How many lives am I going to do on Facebook? How many covers am I going to update? How many video previews? How many blog posts? So it's not like just how many books am I going to read? Like I keep like, how many workouts am I going to do? Like it's all the things. How many emails? How many podcasts am I going to listen to? And then I have financial goals. And then like Instagram posts. So I do keep track, and I just keep like little circles. You can't see them.
Yeah. Like, is that something you just drew? It looks like you drew it with like a Sharpie. Like you took a pretty color piece of paper and you drew it with a Sharpie.
Yep. That is what I did. Yep.
So you didn't buy.
As a seller, I should probably like have a nice form, but you know, I'm also like of the attitude of like, make it simple, right? Keep it simple. So these are kind of my sheets that I look at. And then when I sit down, like for productivity, I always know what I can work on, because I don't really have big blocks of time to work ever, other than at night, where quite often I'm really tired. So I don't do a lot of those, like I don't write my blog posts at night. I don't write emails at night. It's more of like making Instagram posts and updating like clip art. Like it's not anything that's mind, because I'm too tired. But when I sit down at any time during the day, I know exactly what I can work on. And then I have one for like private practice, but I can't show it like still. But you know, I have one for private practice that I can sit down. If I have 15 minutes, I know exactly what I'm going to do, so I'm not wasting time. I'm big on not wasting time. So
yeah, because you're busy. Like if you
very busy,
like you've got 2 businesses and you're raising 2 boys. And then they were at home this past school year.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't like virtual learning. Like I think people thought I like sat them on a computer. Like I legit had to teach them. I was the teacher. So we did like 4 hours of school every day where I was actually teaching. There was a teacher that like marked their assignments, but they weren't doing any of the instruction. And then my boys both play hockey. Like we have like 15 ice times a week that are like that probably takes 30 hours of my week. So, or 20 probably, I don't know, given on the week. So yeah, pretty busy, but that's why I'm like, you have to have a plan of how you're going to do it, because and be efficient with your time. So that works for me. That doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone, but that works for now. And who knows, in a couple of months, that might not be my system anymore. You just kind of have to be not afraid to try things and not afraid to have things fail and try again. And
And I think everybody, if any of you have been listening to the podcast for a while, everybody knows like my first question to every guest on here is what makes you unique as an SLP? And for you, I would say like that I'm not afraid to fail. Like if someone asked me what makes Anna D SLP unique as an SLP, like honestly, I would say that's a big part. Like that's something that's like really coming out as we're talking, was that you're just not afraid to fail. And I feel like so many of us in this field, SLP, attracts types of personalities. Like
Mhm.
I am not a typical SLP. I'm type B. Like I didn't really hang out with people in my major. I love them, but they stressed me out. Like I was like, I need to go
Yeah,
away.
yeah, that was me too. I don't know that I'm a B or an A, but I'm not an A.
Yeah,
Not an A plus plus. No,
I'm
I'm
like
not.
a B, C, like D, E, F, G. Like
I'm like an A minus with minimal effort. That's how I was in school. I'm like, I was an A minus student without having to try too hard. That's kind of how I roll. Like, I'm not like, I'm good with an A minus. Like, I can have a couple typos, but it didn't take me 40 hours, It
an
took me
A
5 hours.
minus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of me. Yeah. I
Uh-huh.
do think that the only failure is not trying. I know that sounds really cliche, but you're only failing yourself if you don't try. Like
Right.
anything else, whatever. Like, I mean, you try something and it doesn't work out, at least you freaking tried. Like, and how, like I say this to
Right.
my kids too, like, how many times have you ever done this? Like, you've never done it. Why do you expect that you're going to be perfect? You look at someone else who's been doing it for 5 years, like for hockey or for school or whatever. I'm like, well, that person's been doing it way longer and for way more hours. So why would you think that you're going to be amazing at this? So I'm also pretty humble, I think, too, about it. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I suck at something. I suck at something. I don't know.
Yeah, and like that's like I love that. I love that because like everyone's gonna show up, especially like with social media. People are gonna show up with their best, and I think that's great. Like I love talking about money and finances. Like that's something I've geeked out over for the last few years or most of
You
my
feel such a
adulthood.
niche or niche. I don't even
No,
know how to say it. How
niche.
about it?
It's
Niche.
niche or niche. I think it depends what it rhymes with. So people say riches are in the niches, but niches
Right.
rhymes with riches. And
Right.
then you don't say niched down because that sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like itchy.
Yeah, I
And
don't
nobody
know.
wants
I
to be
don't know.
itchy.
Right. I'm Googling how to say it. It's niche.
It is niche.
It's niche, it says. Although, do you know
It's
what? I was like doing a product in conch. I thought it was conch. It's conch, like a shell. Like
it's
conch.
not,
Like,
but SpongeBob said it's the magic conch.
I know. That's so I had it under CH words and like everyone's like, it's, and I'm like, I don't believe this. And then there's like a couple words, and I'm ESL. So there's a lot of words that I don't know what they mean, and people laugh at me all the time, especially as a speech pathologist. My vocabulary is pretty weak, and yeah, but niche, it's niche. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
That's our tangent for today.
SpongeBob said it's conch, okay?
It's the magic conch. Yes. Look, you are not alone in that. I would not have been emailing you about conch. I think of like get conked in the head. But
Me too.
yeah, that's what I think of. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
KONK. That's
yeah.
what I
But
use. Okay.
anyways,
Um, but yeah, like I think it's like realize like people are going to show up like with the good parts of themselves. Like I'm not going to help people learn how to sell things on TPT or make TPT products. Like I'm not going to talk about that because I suck at that, or I know I
right, and
would
that's
suck at it.
okay.
Like, yes, exactly. But like you can't compare yourself to you can't compare like what is it, your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter
Right,
25. You can't
right.
compare your skill set to somebody who's an expert at fiddle
Nope.
faddle or whatever, and they've been
Right.
researching it for the last 25 years. Like you can't set those types of standards for yourselves. Like you're just setting yourself up for failure at
And
that
I don't
point.
even think you can compare your 25 to someone else's 25 because it's a completely different stage of life where you're at. Some people are, have tons of student loans and are single income, and some people are married with no debt. Sorry, I can't even think of the word. No, with no debt, no kids, so they might have more free time to do things. And then you have people who have babies and they're not sleeping. Like, so how could you compare even a TPT seller who has a brand new baby isn't putting out products, but they might be doing it longer than somebody who's, like you just really can't compare yourself to anyone except yourself, and compare yourself to your own goals and try to crush your own progress.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. Like,
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
can get like, it can be so, and like you're creating this competition for yourself, but it can be very competitive when you see someone post something, you're like, wow, that was amazing. Why didn't I think of it? Well, you can, but I just let it go. Like they're not you. No one can do what you do better than
Mm-hmm.
you. That's it.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
find what you're good at though, right? Because if I was like, I could never teach people how to work on a team because I'm the worst team player. I'm like, I'll just do it all. Go away, or you do it all, and I'm not doing anything. Like I'm an only child. I'm sure that's why I've never had to collaborate. Like I'm a good friend. I just suck at teamwork. So, there's things that you're just not good at. So just find something you're good at and get really good at it.
Yeah. And then and I like what you said, like stop comparing. We have this we all have the tendency to compare, because that is a way to measure success, right? Like for basketball, like you either get it in the hoop or
Right.
not in the hoop. Like
Right.
that's how we figure out like if we're successful or not. But the problem is like comparing you to someone else. It's like apples to oranges. Like it's not a fair comparison. A fair comparison is comparing yourself to yourself. And like,
To
am
last year,
I
yourself to last year.
Yes, yes, exactly. And
And
like your
that's why I keep
little,
those sheets. Like I keep these. And then next year I can see, and compare it to your own growth and stuff. But it is hard. But I mean, that's evolution. We compare ourselves. That's evolutionary. That is something like when you realize that we are animals, we are comparing
Mhm.
ourselves to other people that our partner might find more desirable for whatever reason. That's why we do it. And I'm like, he's not going to leave me for some chick on the internet. Put out a good TPT product. Like when you look at it, no, but really, like that's why we compete with other people. It's
Mhm.
to show that we're better partners. So, like when you step back and realize this is just my nature talking, the same as like, I don't know, a dog. I don't know what dogs do. Like dogs chase their tail or dogs dig bones in the hole. Is it like a hole, dig and hide their bones? It's just nature. That's just who we
Yeah.
are.
Exactly.
Evolutionary psychology. Yeah. So I'll let
Yeah.
it go.
And just recognizing that,
Yeah.
the dog thing, she's finally stopped, but like for a good while, she kept eating her own poop. I was like, I'm over this,
Oh,
Tilly. Please
yeah.
stop. So
Yeah. They do
I
that.
just totally grossed you out.
No, but they do. My dog does that too, and he digs holes, and he just does all the things that dogs like. When you think of bad dog, it's him. It's Charlie. One
Aw,
65-pound golden retriever has all the things. Yeah.
you're so lucky. That's so sweet.
Mm.
So I have to ask, Anna. So
Yeah.
can you take us through? Because again, like you have a lot going on, but you do get to make your own schedule and
Mhm.
decide when you're going to do what work and blah blah blah. Can you
Mhm.
take us through like a typical, I don't whatever would be easier for you, like a typical day or a typical week? Like
Mhm.
what's it look like for you for have private practice, TPT, Instagram, blah.
I'm about to scare you all, I think, here. Okay, so no, I'm
Ah!
just kidding. So Thursdays are the days that I see clients, private clients. So I do between 8 and 13 sessions on Thursday, and that's it. So this year, and again, like it changes for me every year because this year was obviously it was COVID and my kids were home. Like it was a completely different year than any year ever. So, and next year will look different as well. But this year, yeah. So Thursday I did private practice all day, and my kids pretty much fended for themselves. They learned a lot of independence this year, which was great. We did homeschool Monday, Tuesday, Fridays from 9 till 1, and then in the afternoons we just kind of hung out, went to the park. I cooked and stuff because I obviously have to feed my family. And then Fridays, we kind of just did whatever we wanted. I do a lot of batching. So I'll sit down and like, usually on Saturdays for a couple hours, I'll sit down and do like a ton of Instagram posts. Like I'll sit down one Saturday and do all my Instagram posts for 2 months. I think this is something people don't really talk about, that they don't realize that a lot of people do schedule stuff. Like it's not like we're always there. Because I had one parent be like, you said you couldn't do speech right now, but you just posted. I'm like, well, yeah, but I didn't post that.
Yeah.
Tailwind posted that, right? So I do a lot of batching. So Saturdays are kind of my big batching days, but not every Saturday. Like I don't know if I want to use the word luxury, but I don't have a set schedule every week because it's so different. Like the kids have hockey in different towns on different days. So yeah, I don't know. I could probably tell you, like, I probably do 25 hours on TPT every week, and then probably like 10 hours of private practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And TPT being like all of that, emails, blogs, like all of that goes into that.
Right.
But it can vary. Some weeks I could do like 45 hours of TPT if my husband's home, and some weeks I do like 5. So it really just kind of have to go with the flow.
Got you.
Just go with. But the days that I do a ton, I will say, like, I give myself grace. Like we get pizza for supper on Thursdays because after I've worked 14 hours, I'm not making dinner. So, it's kind of balanced. I do it all, but never on the same day. I say that.
Oh, I love that too.
I do it all, just never on the same day. I look nice or the house is clean. I cook a beautiful supper or I've taken the kids to the park. Like I don't like wake up and work out and then clean my beautiful home and get my hair all done and work for 10 hours and bring home a turkey dinner and then do 10 hours on TPT. Like that's not the reality. So and remembering that too, like on Instagram, you might see images of people doing that, but remembering like they're not doing everything. Well, maybe they are. I'm not doing everything every day. So
I mean,
yeah.
there's no way. Like, and I think a lot of people don't really, like, I'm glad you brought up the Instagram batching. Because yes, like there's no way like to spend that much time, or like if your goal is to post daily, like
Yeah.
it's just another one of those little like hacks that people don't realize. Or like I know I find like I do really good whenever I just sit for like a couple hours and
Yes.
just work on a one particular task. Like I don't do well with these little like 10 or 15-minute blocks.
Nope.
I'm too squirrely for that.
It's cognitive, but it's your cognitive load, right? And I think about that also even in therapy when we're switching goals in our sessions every 5 minutes. I think it's the same thing. Like you know what I mean? So I think you need like longer chunks. It's just because your brain is actually in it, and then so much of that becomes automatic, right? So you can, yeah. So I like batching. I never started batching until about 6 months, 7 months ago. Because I also like to kind of do what I feel inspired to do. Like some days I don't feel like writing blog posts, and then they turn out crappy. So I try to batch what I feel inspired to do at the time. So I'm not like super rigid with what I do. Have to get, yeah.
And you do it all yourself. Like you don't have an assistant, like it's all you.
Recently, so this is for 7 days. I have had someone who helps me with Pinterest because I hate it. So Pinterest.
Yeah. I'm all about outsourcing.
So she does all the Pinterest. So like I'll take the pictures and stuff, but she posts it and schedules. She knows what she's doing. I tried Pinterest and it was like I was spending hours and hours and hours, and it was just it did not bring joy. So, but otherwise, yes, every email that you get from me, every DM, it's me. Yeah. It might be scheduled, but it was me that did it. Yeah. The only thing is Pinterest, but
got you.
Hire out for Pinterest. So
Pinterest is like this like scary black hole. Like it's like really colorful and bright. I get overstimulated with it.
It changes too much for me. Like it changes. You're like trying to fight this algorithm all the time where I'm like, I can write an email because I know how I can help people. I know what I can do. That's not going to change. But Pinterest, it's like, you have to use this and then you have to post at this time. I don't have time for this. So,
and anybody got time for that?
Yeah. I'm happy to have help with that. Yeah. And then my husband will be starting as well to help me out a little bit. Like he works full time, but in the evenings and weekends, just to help me out with some numbers because I'm not great at number stuff. So like just kind of on the back end.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, Anna, I do want to be respectful of your time because you are a busy, busy lady. I love it. You do it all, but not all at the same time. Like that might even, I'm going to try and work that into the title for this episode. I just love it. But before I let you go, can you do you have any like final advice, words of wisdom for SLPs out there, especially SLPs that are kind of interested in kind of becoming like you, like maybe having another business besides like just doing therapy or things like that?
Yes. So, okay. I think don't be afraid to take the risk to chase something that's going to bring you happiness, right? Like find something that sparks joy, find something that you can help others. Cause ultimately like that's how I started. I wanted to help others, and find something that you're really good at that you can teach other people. And you have the things that you take for granted are actually gifts that you're given, right? So hone into your gift because like you were saying, you're not creative, but you have lots of other skills, right? So find those things because they might come. The things that come the easiest to you are actually the things that are the hardest for other people. I really, really believe that, right? I really think that that's your gift because like, I'll be like, oh, I just did this and this. And like my parents will be like, or my friends will be like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, can't everyone do that? Because it's so easy for me, certain things. But then other things, like if you're trying to talk to me about like physics, like you could break it down, like there's just no way. But my husband, physics is so easy for him, right? That's so simple. So find what is so easy for you that is probably really hard for someone else. And that can be your niche. And that can be like the passion that you follow. And don't be afraid to work hard because there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Oh, there
we go.
I love it. I love it. We're going to do like a mic drop and like end it right there. Okay. Okay. Is that cool with you? I won't actually drop my mic because then it'll be a big loud boom sound and then everyone will be sad in their earbuds.
And that's probably expensive, and that would kind of go against your philosophy.
That is true.
Of breaking expensive things.
That is true. That is very, very true. Well, thank you so much, Anna. This is so much fun. I really appreciate you coming on. And I'm so excited to see you grow more, and as you like keep building and just like doing your dang thing. I just absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to hear more no fluff, getting the dang thing done stuff from myself and other real life SLPs, be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or pledge a small amount on patreon.com/speechgoods. If you found this content valuable, please share it with others so we can get this message out there. And if you haven't already, join us on Instagram. Handle is @speechgoods. See you there.